The bold, visceral allure of Nine Inch Nails was once best described by a journalist who said Trent Reznor realized he could do as much damage with a synthesizer as he could with a guitar. Let's talk about their albums. Nine Inch Nails is, of course, the brainchild of frontman Trent Reznor. Their debut, Pretty Hate Machine, is oddly their most commercial record. It's a visceral extension of synth pop that managed to commercialize industrial music, certainly not in a bad way. These tunes are actually really catchy and can get pretty poppy, but there's an exclamation point around their bold, visceral sound and even lyrical content. It would be followed up with an EP called Broken that very much feels like a full-length album. Rather than try to be more commercial and radio-friendly, Reznor decided he was going to be louder, meaner, and more unconventional. And in a way, this industrial band was now starting to draw in heavy metal fans. The peak would be The Downward Spiral, an album that sounds exactly like its title, because Reznor was battling demons when he wrote these tunes. It maintained the more out-of-the-box sensibilities that Broken would bring to the table, but this also elevated Nine Inch Nails to full-on mainstream recognition. This spawned radio hits and music videos that were in heavy rotation on MTV. It would get them a stint opening for David Bowie and then even being a headliner on arena tours. The Fragile needs to be talked about more. This album was worth the 5-year wait. It still has the raw, loud sensibilities of a Nine Inch Nails album, but at times it's a bit quieter, more beautiful, even peaceful. It's like a moment of clarity for Reznor, coming to terms with his demons. It's also a bit more organic, seeing Reznor play around with more traditional instruments. But Reznor would have to full-on conquer his demons, and he did after a hellacious stint in rehab in the early 2000s. For a 6-year absence recording music, he would come back with Teeth. An album that proved Reznor could come back to an alternative music landscape that had changed immensely, fit right into it, deliver a great record, and still very much be himself. There are moments on this album that are basically made to be heard on a dance floor, and I love it. Year Zero is an extension of With Teeth, but one that allows Reznor to play around with more unconventional experimental techniques. It's not as good of a record, but it does have great moments. Ghosts is a collection of instrumental tunes that I feel are a test run for Reznor to full-on score movies, something he would start doing not long after this. The Slip is okay, it has its moments, it is a bit of a return to traditional industrial but done on a new millennium platform, but I do feel it was more an album to provide new material for an upcoming tour, and the live shows would really start to get elevated at this point. Hesitation Marks is a bit more realized, a meeting of the older and newer forms of Nine Inch Nails, moving forward with the way synthpop had really taken over indie music at this time. Also, not forgetting what made Nine Inch Nails a great industrial act. It would also be their last full-length record. Ever since, they've just been putting out EPs. Clearly, Reznor likes to periodically write and record music and release it in increments. Sometimes it's very out of the box and experimental, very strange. Other times it's standout catchy music. But none of these EPs have been anywhere near disappointing.